So let us continue our discussion. So on the general types of manager, so the first one is general manager. So when we say general manager, these are responsible for the overall performance of an organization or one of its major self-contained subunits or divisions. So ibig sabihin, under the general manager, they are considered to be these managers have a broad scope of responsibility. Mas malawak ang kanilang nasasakupan. Wherein, ang pinaka work or yung responsibility ng mga general managers is to oversee or to supervise the overall performance of the organization or the major division. So they are more on focus on strategic planning, resource allocation, and of course, ensuring that all the department works should work together in order to achieve the organizational goal. Kumbaga, overall sila, pangkalahatan na pag-manage at pag-supervise ng kanilang mga personnel. And then the second one is yung functional managers. From the word itself, functional, they are considered to be expert or they specialize a specific area. Kaya siya depending on their function. So dito sa functional manager, lead a particular function or a subunit within a function. So sa pinaka-broadest sense, mayroong mga specific na mga function na kailangan i-consider. So they are responsible for a task, an activity, or operation such as kasama sa function po ng functional manager ang accounting, ang marketing, sales, production, information technology, and even the logistics. So dito sa functional managers, commonly, they are specializing in a specific area. Meron silang specific area na talagang ginagawa. Ano yung pinaka-main focus nila? So they ensure that their particular function operates efficiently. And then dapat all the tasks are being coordinated properly. And they should also meet the departmental objective that support the organization's broader goals. So yan yung trabaho ng functional manager. A specific task or specific function ang kanilang ginagawa. And then the third one is yung frontline managers. Pag sinabi naman pong frontline managers, these are the ones who are in charge with managing employees who are themselves not managers. So they are found at the lowest. Ayan. Sila yung makikita sa pinaka-front or pinaka-lowest na hierarchy ng management. So, dito sa frontline managers, they are being positioned at the base. Ayan. Base. Ibig sabihin ng base, they are at the bottom or they are at the lowest. So, frontline managers directly supervise non-managerial employees. Ang binabantayan or somehow, ang sinusupervise po ng mga frontline managers ay hindi mga manager, mas mababa pa. Ayan. So, they handle day-to-day operation. They also in charge, yung mga frontline managers, in charge po sila sa mga monitoring performances. Sila din yung nagbibigay ng mga guidance and make sure that each task are completed effectively. Ayan. So, yun ang trabaho ng frontline managers. So, the specific types of managers, unahin natin ang top-level manager. From the word itself, top level, sila po yung nasa pinaka-highest rank within the management. Sila yung nag-hold ng position na may pinakamataas. Are those who represent the highest level of the executive management na kadalasan, ang tawag sa kanilang mga job description or job titles is yung mga executive officer, chief, yung mga yan, or the CEO, mga CFO, yan po yung mga sakop po ng kanilang mga job titles. So, ano ang ginagawa dito sa top-level managers? Ano yung mga ginagawa nila? So, these managers help sustain the company's growth. Mini-maintain nila na kahit papaano, mag-withstand or magtagal yung company. And also, kasama din po sa trabaho ng top-level managers ang mag-execute ng mga plan na dapat strategic in nature. When you say strategic in nature, pang matagalan or long-term kung tawagin. So ano ba yung focus actually ng top-level managers? So their main focus is to have a long-term strategy. so that they could be able now to sustain the growth at ma-maintain pa rin yung company or yung organization. And at the same time, they also make high-level decision. So when it comes to high-level decision making, trabaho na yan ng top-level manager. At para saan? For what? So that shape the direction and success of the company. So yan po yung sa top-level managers. Yung pangalawa naman is the middle managers. When you say middle managers, eto naman po yung they usually report to the top level. Kumbaga mas mababa. Saan nagre-report ang mga middle manager? Magre-report sila sa top level managers. Pero hindi ibig sabihin that they are reporting to the top level managers ay wala na silang sariling independency as to make decision. So meron pa din. So they still have autonomy to make decisions within their area. Ayan, ina-allow sila ng top-level managers na mag-decide on their own department or their own unit. So, these managers ay kadalasan may mga job titles na director. O kaya naman, tinatawag din silang mga department head. Ayan, so yan po dun sa middle managers. So, commonly, mas nakafocus ang middle manager on implementing the strategies na kinam-up ng mga top-level managers. So, yan. So, implementing strategies and at the same time, coordinating the different resources so that the organizational goal must be achieved. So, yan naman po yung trabaho ng middle managers. So, ayan. Tinatawag din silang department heads. And then of course, the third one is yung tinatawag naman nilang first line managers or eto na yung tinatawag din natin mga frontline managers. Yan, yung mga entry. Ang kadalasan na nire-represent nito is yung mga entry level. Pag sinabing entry level, yung kauna-unahang level within the group or management, yung pinakamababang rangko. Ayan, yun yung kanilang nire-represent. So they work directly with non-management employees and project the team members. So their overarching role is to supervise the employees' productivity and hold employee accountable for achieving the company's goal. So dito sa first line managers, ang kanilang sinusupervise is yung mga entry-level management role involving direct supervision sa mga non-managerial employees. Pag sinabing non-managerial, hindi nag-handle ng specific position. Mga newbie, kumbaga. So, ano ang ginagawa ng mga first-line managers? So, they are the ones who are in charge with supervising or overseeing daily operation. So, sila yung tutok talaga sa pag-monitor kung nagagawa ba yung trabaho. Well, in fact, kasama din sa kanilang job description or function ang i-guide yung bawat employee and to make sure na each task are being completed efficiently. Ayan. So, sila yung mga nakabantay actually sa mga entry level na mga positions. Ayan. So, next one, team leaders. So, when we say team leaders, these are managers who specialize in a particular task. Pwedeng a particular task, a project, or a product. So, their role is to oversee lahat ng mga logistics of their assignment, which may include kasama din yung dapat magawa on time yung project or yung work, onboarding new employees, and assigning specific tasks to various team members. So, dito, yung mga team leaders, sila yung nagmamanage ng mga specific task, project, or product. So, wherein, isa pa sa kanilang work is to coordinate all aspects of their assignment, including yung proper delegation. Ayan, most especially so kung maraming mga personnel. And then, aside from that, monitoring progress, and then onboarding new members. Yan, kailangan i-make sure niya na well-oriented yung mga bago na mga members and ensuring that the team meets deadline. Ayan, so make sure niya na yung timeline or yung due date of accomplishing a specific task ay magagawa. Yun yung trabaho ng team leader. Kumaga delegate siya ng work na ipo-perform ng kanyang mga members. And then, i-check na lang niya whether it be nagagawa ba or nami-meet ba ng kanyang mga members yung deadline as to what are they supposed to be accomplished. Ayan. So next one, the management style. So when it comes to management style, it refers to the method or the approach of a manager na ito yung mga approach na gagamitin niya so that they could be able to achieve the goal. So, it also encompasses the different method and techniques na ina-apply in order to guide the individual, the team, the entire organization, and then influencing how the work is coordinated, decisions are made, and the objectives are being met. Kumbaga, ito yung kabuuan na pamamaraan ng isang manager or ng isang nasa top level manager kung paano niya i-manage ang kanyang mga tao. Ayan. Within the organization. So, yung mga na-mention natin, ito yung mga examples po ng mga management style. Katulad lamang din po siya ng leadership style. It's just that dito kasi nakafocus naman siya sa management. So, pag sinabing autocratic management, sa style na to, the managers have full control and they make decision without input from employee. Kumbaga, ang may final say is yung manager. Kung hindi na niya iintindihin or hindi niya hihingin ang opinion ng kanyang mga employee. Ayan. So, kumbaga, sa kanya lang manggagaling ang decision making. Hindi necessary that he needs to ask for the opinion or ideas ng kanyang employee. Ayan. So, dito, yung communication dito is one way. So, paano yung one way? So, from manager to staff and employee are closely monitored while expected to follow clear rules and instruction. Hindi mo pwedeng i-bypass. So, dito, hindi ka makakapunta sa pinaka-top level management nang hindi ka dumadaan dito sa ganitong klase ng manager. So, most controlling siya. When it comes to managing, with the management making all the workplace decision and holding all the power. Kumbaga, the authority lies sa kanya. Nasa kanya lang yung pinaka sole authority. Na yung mga employee dito are being treated as drone. Parang para silang mga tools or para silang mga gamit na kailangan i-monitor so that they could perform well. So yun yung konsepto ng autocratic management style. Pero hindi mo sila isinasama when it comes to providing decision making or decisions. So kaya nga sinabi dyan that it is highly controlling and focused on the efficiency and compliance rather than collaboration. So hindi mahalaga dito kung nakikipagtulungan ba sa manager yung mga employee. Ang mahalaga dito is kung paano mo sila kontrolin habang ginagawa yung trabaho. So that is on autocratic management style. And then, yung sub-types ng autocratic, ito, under siya ng autocratic. So, una is yung authoritative management style. So, dito, the manager dictate exactly. Kumbaga dito, eksaktong i-dictate mo or i-instruct mo yung mga subordinates mo kung paano nila gawin ang isang trabaho. Para siyang um, meron kang parang outline of work or task na kailangan nilang i-perform. So the manager dictates exactly what they require their subordinate to do and punish those who do not comply. So dito medyo harsh ng kaunti yung ganitong klase ng since hindi mo binibigyan ng chance na makipag-collaborate ang mga personnel mo or yung mga subordinate mo, pag nagkamali sila, may corresponding punishment. So dito sa authoritative management style, yung mga employees ay ine-expect na sumunod sa kung ano yung order given to them. And wala silang karapatan to question the authority of the top level manager. So more on ito, compliance based na hindi sila pwedeng tumanggi kahit hindi sila agreeable sa kung ano yung pinapagawa sa kanila. So, etong mga klase ng mga manager na to, nagbibigay sila ng very clear at strict na instruction na hindi mo pwedeng baliin kung ano yung order nila or ano yung kanilang instruction na ibibigay. At in-expect nila na dapat bilang employee, mag-comply ka without question. Ayun, sumunod ka na lang, parang ganun po. So, once non-compliance ang nangyari, ibig sabihin hindi ka sumunod, may corresponding punishment. Merong sanction na ibibigay. And then, kaya dito sa authoritative management, ang pinaka-ine-emphasize nila is obedience. You need to have a quality na pagiging obedient. Kailangan marunong kang sumunod and control over collaboration. Kumbaga, regardless whether it be hinihingi ang opinion mo or hindi. What matters in here is you need to abide. You need to obey whatever the uh, whatever the instruction being given to you. So that is authoritative management. Kumbaga dito, ang mga members or subordinate, walang sariling desisyon. Ang tanging magagawa lang nila is sumunod sa kung ano yung order given to them by the higher level of management. Yan. And then next one naman is persuasive management style. So dito po sa persuasive management style, yung mga managers, they commonly uses persuasive skill kung paano nila mahihikayat, paano nila mako-convince ang kanilang mga employee. Ayan, that unilateral decisions that the manager implements are for the good of the team, department, or organization. So, pag sinabi pong unilateral, it means acting alone or acting independently, without the agreement or input or participation of others. Kaya para siyang one-man battalion, parang ganun siya. So, wherein dito, they use persuasion to gain support and help employees understand how decision benefit the team. Ayan, papaintindi mo sa kanila na napakahalaga ng kanilang maiaambag. So managers employing this style would invite question. So open naman sila to accept questions being asked by the employee or by the subordinate. And then they need to explain also. They would explain the decision-making process and the rationale behind the policies. Ayan. Kung ikukumpara natin, mas okay naman ang persuasive kaysa sa authoritative. Next one is the paternalistic management style. Ito medyo para siyang family-like. Parang ang turingan within the organization or the company is parang family. Para kayong isang family. So in this type of style, the manager acts with the best interest of their subordinates at heart. Kumaga may concern ka, you do have care to your personnel. So usually, the organization will refer to staff as family and ask for loyalty and trust from employee. So dito sa paternalistic, yung manager dito, mag-a-act siya as if siya yung parent towards sa kanyang mga employee. Na kapag parent ka, you need to make decision and they believe are in the team's best interest. Yan. So employees dito ay being treated with care and concern. So dito sa paternalistic management style. Aside from being treated with care and concern, loyalty, trust, and commitment to the organization are expected in return. So parang ganito, tinatrato kayo ng tama ng inyong mga manager, so marapat lamang na in return, you do the same. So ganun po dito sa paternalistic marriage. Parang sa bahay nyo lang. Pag ikaw ay pinapangaralan ng iyong mga magulang, kailangan mo silang sundin. Hindi mo sila pwedeng suwayin. So, ganun po yung konsepto ng paternalistic management style. So, bilang family, meron kayong magulang na kailangan sundin. Ayan. So, ganun po ang paternalistic style. Next naman na pangalawa sa autocratic style is yung democratic management style. Dito po sa democratic, ini-encourage yung mga employee na magbigay ng input during the decision making. Kumbaga, hindi mo isa-set aside yung mga employee. But of course, the final decision ay nakasalalay pa din sa pinaka highest level or yung may pinakamataas na position. So this process allows for diverse opinion. Kumbaga, itong klase ng management style is open sa iba't ibang klase ng opinion na manggagaling sa mga personnel. So, skills and ideas to inform decision. Ayan. So, dito nangangailangan po ng collaboration. Kailangan tulungan at may participation ang personnel. Kaya nga ini-encourage din na hinihingan din sila ng iba't ibang perspective. Ayan. So, dito, they foster the sense of involvement and ownership among the team. Kumbaga, may say din ang mga members or yung mga subordinate. So, subtypes ng democratic, una is the consultative management style. Dito sa consultative management style, the manager will ask for the opinion and idea ng kanyang team. And then, consulting the viewpoint of every member. So, ibig sabihin nun, the manager will actively seek or ask for the opinion and ideas from the team bago siya mag-come up ng kanyang decision. So, i-consult niya muna. Ayan. So the manager will make the final decision, but kino-consider niya din po yung mga informative information being given by the team members. Kumbaga, ang basis ni manager sa pagbibigay ng kanyang decision is based sa opinion ng kanyang mga subordinates. So, while the manager retains the final authority, so sabi nga natin kanina, siya pa rin ang may sole responsibility and authority to come up with a decision, but he made sure or he or she make sure that all the members should be informed. I-inform mo lahat ng members as to what would be the final decision and the well-rounded choices and so that, bakit mo gagawin yun? Why do you need to inform them? So that you could be able to promote engagement and collaboration. Para kahit paano, makikipag-collaborate sila sa iyo at gagawin nila yung kanilang trabaho dahil ini-involve mo sila sa organization when it comes to decision making. So next one is yung participative management style. So dito sa participative management style, the manager and staff are all active members of the decision process. So the managers, ini-involve ni manager yung kanyang mga employee. Kailangan may active participation when it comes to decision making. So wherein, yung mga staff po dito or yung mga personnel, they were being given access sa mga relevant na mga information. And aside from giving access to more relevant information, ine-encourage mo rin sila to share ideas. And at the same time, you also empowered them na mag-propose ng innovative solution. Pag sinabing innovative solution, yung mga makabagong pamamaraan on how to solve a specific problem. And aside from that, ang pinaka-main focus ng participative management style is to foster collaboration and of course, to share responsibility. Yan. The third one is na subtype ng democratic is the collaborative management style. Yan. From the word collaborate, kailangan merong anong tawag din tulungan. Ayan. So may participation. Ayan. So in this style, management creates an open forum. Ayan. So open forum, everybody's ideas will be ang tawag doon, will be heard. Ayan, to be discussed extensively before making decision based on majority rule. So the policy in collaborative management is based on majority rule. When you say majority rule, kung sino yung karamihan na nag-agree, ayan, as to what would be the final decision. So parang votation ang magaganap or based on agreement. So the staff or the employee are being empowered to take ownership of outcome. Ayan, so which encourages engagement, creativity, and innovation and creativity. Ayan. So that is on collaborative management style. And then the next one, pangatlo, di ba, autocratic, democratic. Pangatlo naman ang laissez-faire management style. So, same is true with the approach dun sa my leadership style, wherein ano dito, hands-off dito yung leader. When we say hands-off, wala siya. Hindi siya tutok sa kanyang mga personnel. Wherein yung manager, nagpo-provide lang siya ng minimal na supervision and inaalaw mo na yung mga employee mo ang mag-decide on their own, to do the task on their own. Kumbaga, less ang supervision na ginagawa dito. You are giving the total freedom to your personnel. So, the staff are trusted to take responsibility of their work without supervision, nang hindi mo sila kailangan bantayan. Kumbaga, you give your trust to them that they could be able to come up and to accomplish the task. Ayan, pinopromote mo dito ang independency na hindi sila laging nakadepend sa iyo. Aside from that, is magkakaroon sila ng self-direction at matututo sila to come up with decision and to solve a specific problem without even relying sa kanilang head or sa pinakamataas sa kanila. So, you are giving them the total freedom to decide on their own. Aside from that, to do the task on their own nang hindi mo na sila binabantayan. So, that is on the laissez-faire management style. So, ano naman yung mga subtype ng laissez-faire management? Una, delegative. Dito sa delegative management, yung mga managers, nag-a-assign sila ng mga task or ng mga work and nagsiset sila ng expectation, pero binibigyan nila yung employee nila ng total freedom na makomplete yung work as they see fit. Ayan. So, while employees naman are empowered to take ownership, the manager remains accountable for our overall success of the task. So, just in case man daw na magkaroon ng successful accomplishment of the task, ang credit hindi sa mga gumawa. Ang credit ay kay manager or sa pinaka-top level. Kumbaga, siya pa rin ang magiging accountable sa overall success ng task kahit na dinelegate niya lang ito sa kanyang mga employee. Yan. So that is on delegative management style. You do the work, I will get the credit. Parang ganun po siya, ang ibig sabihin. And the next one is yung visionary management style. So in this style, the managers lead through inspiring the staff. Ayan, the manager will inspire and motivate their team sa pamamagitan ng how could the manager inspire or motivate the staff? So by sharing a clear vision and explaining the reason behind organizational goal. Yung parang lagi mong ipapaintindi sa kanila kung ano yung kahihinatnan ng inyong organization or company pagdating ng araw. Ayan. Parang i-share mo sa kanila paano yung nakikita mo, paano mo na-visualize, ano ang mangyayari sa inyo in the future. Ayan. So dito, the leader will explain their goals and the reason behind them. Hindi yung nagpapatrabaho ka lang, nagbibigay ka lang ng specific task and yet hindi nila alam para saan yun. So you need to explain to them why they are going to do that specific task. Ayan. So you need to convince them to work toward executing their vision. Parang sasabihin mo dun na kasama sila sa plano kung ano man ang mangyayari in the future sa inyong company or sa inyong organization. So that is on the visionary management style. So the type of management and the role, so meron tayong tinatawag na upper management, pang long-term goal ito, pang malawakan. And at the same time, kadalasan na kanilang mga title ay yung mga CEO, CFO, ay mga yan, COO, o VP, President, yan po yung mga term na as to their titles. Pag middle management, ang trabaho naman nila is more on interpreting the plan and set of action na ginawa ng upper management. So, kadalasan ng mga title na mga yan is either head, yung mga yan, department head, regional, or plant managers. And then, of course, yung lower management, sila naman ang mag implement ng mga plano. Sila yung gagawa. Ayan. So, sila dun sa execution. Sila yung pang-performance. They are the ones who are in charge with doing the task properly. So, yan sa lower management. Kumbaga, may policy na ibinaba ang upper management, i-interpret naman ito ng middle management, and then ang gagawa or ang mag implement at mag execute is the lower management. Kaya meron naman tayong tinatawag na mga team leader, assistant manager, foreman, yung mga yan. So, dito yun sa lower management. So, the roles of managers. So, ano ba yung mga role ng manager within the organization? Tatlo, nahahati sa tatlo ang role ng managers. Una, interpersonal. Pangalawa, informational. Pangatlo is the decisional. Pero pag sinabi pong interpersonal, kasama po dito yung mga figurehead, leader, or liaison. So, pag sinabing figurehead, it represents the organization in a formal and symbolic activities like nagkakandak sila ng mga ceremonies, meeting, official events, so that they could be able to uphold its image and value. So, yun yung sakop ng figurehead. Dito naman sa leader, ang pinaka-focus naman when it comes to leader, they guide, they motivate, and direct the employee to achieve both individual and organizational goal while fostering a productive and supportive work environment. Pag sinabi kasing liaison, to connect or to link, yun yung trabaho talaga niya. Connect the organization with internal and external contacts. Ibig sabihin, makikolaborate sa iba. Ayan. Kailangan meron kayong auxiliary kung tawagin. Yung hindi lang kayo nag-ooperate inside your department. Kumbaga, when it comes to liaison, marami dapat kayong counterpart or yung tinatawag natin mga linkages. Ayan, na ibang mga agency o na ibang mga company. So ano yung mga ginagawa ng liaison? So dito, they share information, nakikipag-coordinate sila as to what are the activities na kailangan i-perform or gawin, and nagbi-build sila ng network and support para at least meron silang parang sponsor or somehow merong ibang mga department or agency na katuwang nila while performing their duty. Ayan. So yun naman sa liaison. When it comes naman sa informational, which is yung monitor, eto naman po yung from the word monitor, they keep track of internal and external information. Dapat well-informed sila. Minomonitor nila. Sinusupervise nila, including ano yung mga sakop when it comes to um, an organization. Siyempre, kasama po yung mga performance data, yung mga market trends, yung mga pagbabago sa environment, at dapat they should stay informed and make better decision. Kaya nga dapat may monitoring. Hindi ka naman siguro magtatatag ng isang company or ng isang organization na hahayaan mo na lang. Hindi po yan tatagal kung hindi mo siya minomonitor ng maayos. Pag sinabi namang disseminator, so bilang manager, you should know how to share important information with the team. May mga bagay na dapat sinishare at may mga bagay na kinikip as confidential. So dito sa disseminator, ini-ensure mo that everyone has the knowledge needed to perform. Yung parang dapat ini-inform mo sila sa mga information na they are supposed to known or to be known. Yan. Para hindi naman sila nagugulat when it comes sa mga nangyayari within the organization. So, part din ng role mo na mag-disseminate ka ng mga mahahalagang information. And then of course, sa informational, kasama din po ang spokesperson dyan. Pag sinabi pong spokesperson, ikaw po yung nagre-represent sa organization mo to the outsiders. Ayan. Yung disseminator kasi within your organization. Pero si spokesperson, hindi na within the organization. Sa external na po ito, yung outside. Such as stakeholders, o pwede rin naman the media, the public, wherein they have communicating decisions, policies, and organizational performance. Yun naman yung sa spokesperson. And then, when it comes to decisional, meron naman tayong tinatawag na entrepreneur. So, dito sa entrepreneur, ang ginagawa naman dito is they initiate and oversee new projects, yung mga new innovation or improvement within the organization to drive growth and respond to opportunities. Para hindi kayo natitenggal lang sa kung ano yung nakasanayan yung ginagawa. Ayan. So, dapat may growth and nagre-respond din yung organization nyo sa mga iba't ibang opportunities. And then of course, meron tayong tinatawag na disturbance handler. Ito namang disturbance handler, sila naman ay in charge sa kung paano isolve yung mga conflict or yung mga problema na may encounter ng organization. So, they take corrective action to minimize, ayan, para kung sakali man na hindi napigilan yung pag-raise or pag-arise ng problem, kahit paano ma-mitigate yung impact yung impact of damage incurred by that problem. And then of course, para ma-maintain pa rin yung organizational stability. Ayan. And then next one is the resource allocator. So under the resource allocator naman, tamang paglalaan ng mga resources para walang masayang. Ayan. So they decide, bilang manager, you need also to decide how to distribute the resources. Kasama po ang mga resources sa time, money, or fund, yung personnel mo, and equipment to achieve the organizational objective efficiently. Para hindi sayang sa personnel, hindi sayang sa pera, at hindi sayang sa time. And then of course, the last one is the negotiator. Ano naman ang nagagawa ng negotiator? So the negotiator represent the organization when it comes to negotiation purposes with yung mga stakeholders, mga supplier, mga employee, or other parties to reach agreement that benefit the organization. So from the word to negotiate. Ayan. Okay. Next one, decisions are typically made under one of the three conditions. So ito yung mga tatlong condition na kailangan mong isaalang-alang kung sakali man na magde-decide ka. Ayan, base ito on the amount of knowledge of the decision maker. Nakabase yun sa kakayahan ng taong may authority to decide regarding the final outcome of the decision. So the manager's decision depends on a number of factors like manager naka-anchor sa kanyang knowledge, experience, and understanding, and yung kanyang intuition, yung kanyang palagay. So pag sinabing certainty, ito po yung you are certain. Pag sinabing certain ka, sure na sure ka. Ayan. Kumbaga, kung magde-decide ka man, tama ang magiging decision mo. So, the outcome of each decision is known. Kumbaga, in-anticipate mo na kung ano yung mga possible mangyari pag ito yung naging decision mo. And the managers have all the necessary information to make the best choice. Kumbaga, pag mag-decide ka man, siguradong sigurado na tama ang magiging decision mo. You are very certain. Pag sinabi namang risk, ito naman po yung manager, may mga information na din siyang pinoposes. Pero hindi pa siya ganun ka-sure for whatever the outcome at medyo hindi pa siya ganun kasigurado just in case na mag-decide siya. Risky kung tawagin, risk. Ibig sabihin, the outcome are uncertain and can only be estimated with probabilities. Yung mga what if, ayan yung mga ganun, yung mga what if ito ang maging decision. So ganun po yung risk. Hindi ka pa sure, hindi ka ganun ka certain, hindi ka ganun ka sigurado. And then pag sinabing uncertainty, from the word uncertain, you are as in, wala ka talagang kasiguraduhan. Kasi nga, possible na kulang ang information na nalalaman mo. Medyo nahihirapan kang i-predict kung ano yung magiging outcome just in case mag-decide ka. Or, the manager must rely on judgment, intuition, or creativity. Medyo mahirap yun kung magre-rely ka lang sa intuition or creativity. What if magkamali ka ng magiging decision? So, to discuss further, when we say certainty, decisions are made under conditions of certainty when the manager has enough information to know the outcome. Sigurado ka. Wherein dito, the decisions under certainty occur. Nangyayari ang decision under certainty kung yung manager po ay may complete information. Tapos, mayroon siyang mga alam when it comes to different alternatives bago siya makapag-decide. So, syempre, with little ambiguity, the manager can predict results accurately, making it easier to choose yung best course of action and mami-minimize niya yung risk ng pagkakaroon ng poor na decision. Kasi nga, certain na siya, sigurado na siya. Ayan. Ayan. Next naman is yung risk. Dito, most managerial decisions are made under conditions of risk. So, the decisions are taken in risk when the manager has some information leading to the decision. Kumbaga, may nalalaman siya, pero hindi sapat. But does not know everything. Kumbaga, hindi pa complete ang information na pinoposes mo. Wherein, you may encounter, hindi ka sure or unsure ka or unaware ka sa mga whatever consequences that may arise or that may happen once you have make a decision. So under condition of risk, the manager may find it helpful to use the probability estimate. Ayan, diyan ka na maggagamit ng iba't ibang mga alternative, mag-estimate ka na ng mga probabilities. Pag sinabi kasing probabilities, ito yung mga posibleng mangyari, posibleng maging outcome. So this is where the manager's experience and or intelligence is of great help. Eto na, dito mo nagagamitan ang talino mo at yung experience mo sa pagde-decide. Ayan. So napakahalaga na i-consider mo yung experience ng tao at saka yung talino niya on how to come up. Paano niya i-evaluate yung iba't ibang mga alternatives bago siya makapag-come up with decision. Then, the third one is the uncertainty. Dito, decisions are made under uncertainty when probabilities of, unknown. Ibig sabihin, wala kang alam talaga. You do not possess knowledge or information about what would be the outcome of your decision. So, dito, decisions are, uncertainty may happen when the managers have little or no information about the outcome. Ayan. So, parang bahala na lang, parang ganon. Wherein, saan lang siya magre-rely? Magre-rely lang po yung manager sa kanyang assumption. Mag-a-assume na lang siya. Ayun. And then sa kanyang intuition, sa kanyang ability to judge, and sa experience niya to make decision, as the result are largely unpredictable and cannot be estimated with probabilities. Ibig sabihin, hindi ka ganun ka-certain. Kaya nga siya uncertainty. You only give your own decision without even look into what would be the possible outcome. Okay ba ang magiging outcome ng decision mo or not? Ayan. So that is on uncertainty. So the decision-making process involves the following step. So una po dyan is define the problem. Siyempre, bago ka po makapag-come up in making a decision, ang pinakauna mong gagawin, i-define mo muna ano yung mga problema. I-identify mo muna yung mga problem. So the first step in the process of decision making is to recognize or identification of problem. And at the same time, recognizing that a decision needs to be taken. So it is very important to accurately define the problem kasi how can you come up with a decision kung hindi mo na accurately identify yung mga problema. So dito, the managers can do this sa paanong pamamaraan. You need to identify the problem separately from its symptoms. Yung parang aalamin mo yung mga problema based sa kung ano yung naging symptoms nito or ano yung mga naging causes niya. Ayan. Kasi pag alam mo yung cause, alam mo din kung ano yung possible alternative that you will use so that you could be able to come up with a decision. So you need to study the symptoms or the causes helps getting closer to the root cause of the problem. Kasi ang useless that you come up with a solution to a problem na hindi mo naman alam yung pinaka-root causes niya. Ayan. So, dito, aaralin mo bakit tayo nagkaroon ng ganitong problema. So, yan po yung defining the problem. So, syempre, after mo ma-define ang problem, you need also to identify limiting factors. So, ito na po yung mag-iisip ka na ng iba't ibang mga best alternative. So, in order to choose the best alternative and make a decision, every manager needs to have the ideal resources. Ano yung mga ideal resources na kailangan mo? Una, dapat may information, dapat may time, may personnel, may equipment, and supplies. But this is an ideal situation and may not always be possible. Hindi lahat ng pagkakataon ay lahat andyan yan. Present yung mga factors na yan. So, a limiting factor is something that stands in a way of accomplishing. May tendency later on na magkukulang kayo sa time, kulang ng manpower. So, yun na yung tinatawag nating identifying limit. Ibig sabihin, ano yung kulang sa inyong organization na nagiging hadlang kung bakit hindi kayo makapag-come up with a good decision. So, that is identifying limiting factors. And then of course, you need also to develop a potential alternative. Kailangan marunong ka mag-isip kung ano yung mga, 'di ba, marami na ngang na-identify na limiting factor. So pag may limiting factor na ba, wala ka nang gagawin? Are you not going to come up with an alternative? So eto na yung papasok na po yung mag-iisip ka ng ibang mga pamamaraan. Kapag may kulang, may limiting factors within your organization. So dito sa develop potential alternative, you need to recognize the limiting factor in a given situation and make sure that you make possible to narrow down the search for alternative. So, kulang ng manpower, ano ang gagawin? Mag-hire. Ayan. So, kulang ng time, mag-alat. Kulang ng resources, budgetan. So, parang ganun po ang dito sa develop potential alternative. Ayan. So, some methods, ito yung una, brainstorming. Napakahalaga ng brainstorming kasi sa brainstorming, nakakapag-generate kayo ng iba't ibang idea at iba't ibang mga solution sa problem. And so brainstorming, manggagaling yan sa pinaka-manager or the manager, and at the same time yung kanyang mga personnel. And then of course, nominal group technique. Ito namang nominal group technique, it is a method that involves the use of highly structured meeting, complete with an agenda, and restricts discussion on interpersonal communication during decision-making process. Ito naman through conference or through meeting na meron kayong set of agenda na pag-uusapan in that specific period of time. Structured siya. When you say highly structured, may call to order, may notice of meeting, may mga ganon. So that is on nominal group technique. May kanya-kanyang role ang bawat isa to discuss what is specific agenda. Ayan. Pag sinabi namang Delphi technique, ito naman yung mga participants do not meet. Ayan. Hindi kailangan face-to-face mag-meet. But a group leader uses written questionnaire to conduct the decision making. Ito naman, isusulat mo lang kung ano yung magiging decision mo. Isusulat mo in a form of question. Ayan. So, more on kwan lang ito. Parang you are gathering data. So, ganun po ang Delphi technique. Next one is you need to analyze the alternative. Hindi lahat ng alternative na napag-usapan nyo ay gagamitin nyo. Ayan. So dito, you need to analyze. Aralin mo yung mga alternatives. So this is an important stage in decision making process wherein uh, the manager must identify the merits and demerits of its alternative. Tingnan mo daw yung advantages and disadvantage ng mga alternative na pwede nyong gamitin bago kayo mag-come up with decision. Hindi siya trial and error. So, kailangan dito, ang pipiliin mo is the best alternative na sa tingin mo, pag yun ang ginawa ninyo, is makakapag-come up kayo with the decision na masasabi nyong okay. Ayan. So, paano ba yung pamamaraan how to evaluate the alternatives? Una, via qualitative and quantitative. Okay. Pag sinabing qualitative, hindi tayo nakabase sa dami. Nakabase tayo sa quality. Pag sinabi namang quantitative, ito naman, nakabase tayo sa dami ng halos pare-pareho at agreeable, identifiable measurements or measures. Yung parang majority, parang ganun ang kanya. Majority wins, ganun ang quantitative. Ang qualitative, we are not looking into the numbers. We are looking into the quality of that alternatives. And then, perform a cost-effectiveness analysis for each alternative. So, tingnan mo ano yung advantage at disadvantage ng bawat alternatives. And then, of course, marginal analysis. Pag sinabing marginal analysis, you need now to assess the majority na may advantage kaysa disadvantage. And then, after mong ma-analyze yung mga alternative, kailangan mong mamili. Yan. So, once the alternatives are analyzed at na-evaluate mo na yung mga advantage and disadvantage, yung manager, kailangan na niyang mamili ng pinaka-best. So, the manager needs to choose the alternative that gives the most advantage while meeting all the required criteria. So, sometimes the choice is simple with obvious benefit. At times, the optimal solution is combination of several alternatives. So, at times, when the best alternative may not be obvious, the manager uses probability estimate. Ito naman, gagamitin mo lang yung kapag hindi daw obvious na okay, best yung alternative na pipiliin nyo. Diyan pa lang kayo gagamit ng mga probability. Yung tatanungin mo, what if ito, what if ito. Ayan. And dapat, it was based on research and analysis. Ayan. Na sinamahan din ng kanyang experience and judgment. Yan na yun. Diyan na niya gagamitin yung kanyang talino at nalalaman at yung kanyang mga experience sa pag-decide or sa pag-come up ng kanyang decision. Pag hindi siya ganun ka sigurado doon sa alternative. Ayan. So, next one, the 5 functions of great management. Siyempre, ito yung mga napakahalaga para masabi natin na magkakaroon ng great management. Unahin natin ang planning. So, syempre, dito kasi sa planning, it is the basic function of management. Lahat ng management, lahat ng organization may plano dapat. Ano ba yung mga sakop ng planning? So, dito sa planning, it involves setting goals. So, dapat may set goal kayo. Meron kayong gustong ma-achieve. And then, aside from that, aside from setting goals, kailangan yung i-define ano-ano yung mga strategies na gagawin nyo para ma-achieve nyo yung goal. And then, dito sa planning, dito rin natin makikita yung outlining the task. Dapat dito may guideline. Ayan. Outlining the task to achieve the organization objective. So, yan. So, yan po dun sa planning. Mas okay yung meron tayong guide or yung parang skeleton ba? Or yung outline ng ating task na gagawin. So that is on the planning. Pag sinabi namang organizing, Ah, dito naman, ang pinaka-focus niyan is you need to arrange the resources. I-arrange mo siya base sa kanilang gamit, function. So, you need to arrange the resources, the tasks, the responsibilities in a structured way. Ayan. Pag sinabing structured way, sa maayos. Kung hanggat maaari, kung pwedeng chronological order, the chronological order sa tamang pagkakasunod-sunod. Wherein you need to bring together all the physical, the financial, and human resources. So dito, kasama po dito sa organizing ang pag-identify ng mga activities. Then, pag i-classify mo sila, i-group mo yung mga activities na medyo pare-pareho. And assignment of duty, kasama din dyan. Delegation of authority, pagbibigay ng authority sa iyong mga subordinate. So that they would come up with, yung parang magkaroon sila ng independent or responsibility to perform the task. And of course, coordinating authority and responsibility relationship. So yan yung ginagawa sa organizing. Inaayos mo sila um, in a way na magagawa ng maayos yung plano. Next one is staffing. Ayan. Ito yung function of manning. When you say manning, tamang paglagay ng manpower. Ayan. So, kasama dito sa staffing yung paano ba gawin yung recruitment. Ayan. Recruiting, selecting, training, developing the employee, remuneration. Remuneration or syempre yung pagbibigay ng tamang compensation na naaayon sa trabaho. Ayan. So, performance appraisal. When it comes to remuneration, nakadepende yun sa rank ng tao or nakadepende sa position ng tao ang pagbibigay ng salary sa kanya. Kung ano yung parang bracket ng kanyang remuneration or ng kanyang compensation. So, basta dito sa staffing, pipiliin mo yung tamang tao na ilalagay in a particular position or task. So that, maa-assure mo that the organization's objective will attain properly. Ayan. Kaya nga sabi doon, paglalagay ng tamang tao in a right position. Na hindi ka po nakabase sa personal mong decision na siya yung ilalagay mo. Kumbaga dito, when it comes to staffing, you need also to base it to the qualities and qualification of the person or your personnel. Hindi dapat ito personal. Kailangan magbe-base tayo sa kakayahan ng ating personnel. So that is on staffing. And then of course, dito naman ang directing. Sa directing naman, you need to lead your personnel. Ayan, pangunahan mo sila. Ayan, pangunahan in the sense na i-lead mo sila. Ayan. So it is the part of managerial function which actuates the organizational method to work efficiently for the achievement of organizational purposes. So, kasama din dito ang leading, motivating, and guiding the employee to perform the task efficiently and achieve the organizational goal. Kasama dito yung paano ba ginagawa ang directing, kailangan mo silang i-supervise. So when you say supervision, you need to oversee the work of your subordinate. Kahit pa paano naman, bantayan mo naman sila habang sila po ay nag-perform ng kanilang trabaho. So it is the act of paano mo ginagawa by means of watching and directing work and workers. Kailangan aware ka sa kung ano, paano nila i-perform yung trabaho. Andun ka na monitor sa kanila. And then of course, motivation, kasama din po sa directing ang motivation means being the manager or the head, you need also to inspire your people. Ayan. So you need to stimulate or encourage them sa kahalagahan kung bakit nila gagawin yung trabaho na yan. Ayan. And then of course, leadership. Kasama din po yung hindi yung lead ka lang ng lead, direct ka lang ng direct sa kanila. Dapat andun din yung sets of leadership. So, eto, the manager will guide and influence the work of the subordinate in desired direction. Parang you need also to be a leader to them. Kung nakikita mong medyo hindi niya alam kung paano gawin yung trabaho, i-instruct mo sa kanya kung paano gawin or ipakita or i-demonstrate mo sa kanya kung paano gawin yung work. Ayan. And then of course, napakahalaga din dito sa directing yung communication. dito kasi sa communication, this is actually our mode on how we're going to pass information or how we're going to disseminate information to your personnel. Ayan. So, kumbaga, etong communication, it bridges the gap of confusion and understanding. Siyempre, kapag nakiki-communicate ka sa iyong mga personnel, maiintindihan nila. Kumbaga, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na bahala na kayong intindihin. So, dapat dito, there should be communication between the manager and the subordinate or the personnel. Next one is controlling. Dito sa controlling, dito, chine-check mo whether or not there is a progress sa pag-perform nila ng trabaho. So, kasama dito sa controlling yung monitoring performance. Kaya nga may checklist ka dapat dyan. Yung i-check mo kung ginawa niya ba ito, and etc. Kumbaga, monitoring meron kang monitoring performance evaluation. Ayan. Comparing it with set of standard. Kumbaga, meron standard, may checklist ka. Then, i-check mo kung nagawa niya ba yung work, na-perform niya ba yung work, or hindi. And of course, kapag hindi niya nagawa yung work, you need to give corrective action. Pag sinabing corrective action, it could be via reprimand, via sanction, punishment, and etc. Yan yung pamamaraan na ginagawa dito sa controlling. Wag mong hahayaan na you are controlling them and yet you are not teaching them the proper way how to perform the task or the job. So that is on controlling. So meron silang evaluation, kumbaga. I-rate mo yung kanilang performance. So therefore, controlling has the following step. Una, establishment of standard performance. Pag sinabing standard performance, ito dapat yung trabaho na gagawin nila. So, ikukumpara mo ngayon dun sa ginawa nilang output or ginawa nilang trabaho. And then, ime-measure mo yung kanilang actual performance. May rubrics din yan on how you're going to put measurement. Paano mo ime-measure yung performance ng iyong mga tauhan. And then, comparison of actual performance with the standard. Na-meet niya ba yung standard or hindi? Nag-deviate ba? So, syempre, pag nag-deviate, kailangan ng corrective action. Pero kung tugma naman, naaayon naman sa standard performance, sa yung kanyang actual performance, no need for corrective action. Ano ang ibibigay mo aside from corrective action? So, since hindi applicable ang corrective actions, ang ibibigay mo po ay appraisal. Ayun. Either reward, papuri, acknowledgement, ayan. So, yun po yung mga pwedeng gawin when it comes to controlling. So, next one is the different principle of management according to Henry Fayol. Ayan, so isa-isahin natin. Una is yung division of labor. Ayan. So, pag sinabi pong division of labor, the work is being divided. Ayan. So, Henry Fayol has stress on the specialization of job. So, pag hahatiin mo yung trabaho in a way na ibibigay mo ito sa taong nararapat. Yan, may specialized task so that employee can focus on what they do best. Kumbaga, para yung empleyado mo ay makapag-focus na gawin yung trabaho niya sa kung saan siya magaling. Ayan po yung sa division of labor. Hindi porket magaling siya, nagpakitang gila siya sa trabaho, ibibigay mo na lahat ng work sa kanya. Hindi po dapat ganun. So there should be proper division of labor. Parang sa amin lang ng mga teacher, 24 units lang dapat. Hindi mo na dadagdagan dahil magilas siya, dahil okay siyang magturo, and etc. Kailangan maging efficient pa din at hindi mako-compromise yung productivity ng iyong empleyado. So under this, Henry Fayol recommended that work of all kind must be divided. Kasi wala pong jack of all trade. Walang tao na maipo-perform niya ng maayos lahat ng work. Ayan, regardless kung magaling siya or matalino siya. Meron at merong limitation yan. So, tamang hatian ng trabaho. Ayan. So, dapat hindi nag-overlap. Ayan. Iaalat mo dapat to the different people or various person na syempre nakadepende sa kanilang expertise, nakadepende sa kung saan sila area magaling. And then, subdivision of work makes it simpler. Syempre naman, kapag ka hinahati-hati ang work, magiging simple at makakapag-produce kayo ng efficient na resulta or output. Kasi, balanse, hindi walang pagod na pagod at wala namang hindi pagod, something like that. It also helps the individual in acquiring speed, accuracy in his performance. Kasi kapag binigay mo na lahat sa kanya yung trabaho, tingin mo ba magagawa niya ng maayos yan? Mamadaliin niya para lang ma-reach niya yung deadline. So yun, maapektuhan yung accuracy ng kanyang performance kapag ka binigyan mo siya ng sobra-sobrang trabaho na hindi na naaayon sa kanyang kakayahan. Ayan. So that is on the division of labor. Kasi ang unfair naman kung mas marami yung work ng isa, tapos yung isa, isa lang. Ayan. So party of authority and responsibility. Ayan. Authority and responsibility are coexisting. Pag sinabing coexisting, bukod sa meron kang power, meron ka din pong responsibility. Ayan. So, the managers must have the authority to give orders. Yes, may authority ka na mag-command. May authority, may power ka na mag-utos. And at the same time, you also have the responsibility na yung task na inuutos mo ay magagawa ng iyong personnel. Kaya nga magkasama yan, authority and responsibility. They should be balanced to each other. Ayan. So, next one is discipline. Dito sa discipline, employees must follow the organizational rules and agreements. They need to abide, kumbaga, wherein good discipline is being maintained through respect, fairness, and clear expectation. So, ayan, it applies to that subordinates should respect their superior and obey their order. Ayan. Next one, yung pangalawa is yung unity of direction. So, dito po sa unity of direction, activities with the same objective should be directed by one manager. So, dapat iisa lang ang nagda-direct. Kasi, how can a personnel perform the task kung ang dami-daming nag-uutos? Di ba? Sino ang uunahin mo sa kanila? Parang ganon. So, there always be unity of direction. So, dapat, one manager use one plan to ensure coordinated effort. Ayan. Parang one head, one plan, which means that there should be one plan for the group of activities having similar objective. Hindi yung paiba-iba. Malilito kasi, it could lead to confusion among your personnel. Ayan. So, anong kaibahan ng unity of command sa unity of direction? So, pag sinabi pong unity of command, it implies that subordinates should report to and receive order from one superior. Ibig sabihin, tatanggap lang sila ng order at magre-report lang sila sa iisang tao lang, iisang superior lang, kung kanino sila accountable. Ayan. So, the single accountability principle ensures the proper functioning of personnel in organization's hierarchy. Unlike dito sa unity, though magka-connect itong dalawa na ito. So, when we say unity of direction, it implies that all members of an organization na they share same activity should work toward a common goal. Ayan. So, may iisa kayong sinusundan. Ayan. Na base sa kung ano yung binigay ng inyong nag-iisang superior. Ayan. So, the principle leads all the members of an organization towards a common goal under one head, one plan rule. So, yun po dito sa may unity of direction. Pero kung ang tanong ay may kinalaman sa reporting to only one superior, ang kinutukoy po natin dyan is unity of command. Na kung saan sa kanya ka lang magre-receive at magre-report when it comes to the task. Pero kung ang tinutukoy mo naman is yung within the organization, the member should follow the same activity of work towards a goal. That is what we are referring to, unity of direction. Iisang plano lang ang inyong sinusunod. Yan. And then, of course, unity of command, it emphasizes on individual employee or worker by recommending that they should report to only one superior. Yan. And it eliminates any conflict that may arise due to dual or multiple command over authority. Kaya nga siya unity of command. Iisa lang dapat ang nag-direct. Iisa lang ang nagko-command. Dito sa unit of direction, it emphasizes an exploring relationship between different organizational activities that share a common objective. So, it avoids duplication of effort. Ibig sabihin, hindi nyo uulit-ulitin yung mga ginawa nyong trabaho kasi meron kayong iisang plano na sinusunod. So, that is on unity of direction. And of course, we also do have the scalar chain. Um, Dito sa scalar chain, it refers to the chain of authority na manggagaling sa pinaka-top to bottom of the organization. So, clear lines of communication kung tawagin ang scalar chain. And reporting ensures effective decision-making and coordination. So, according to Henry Fayol, the scalar chain is the line of authority. Ayan. That runs from top most manager to the lowest rank employee. So, lahat ng orders, lahat ng instruction, messages, and communication typically follow this chain. For urgent practical situation, supposedly as a general rule, when it comes to scalar chain, lahat po dapat ng info ay manggagaling sa top level papunta sa pinakababa. Hindi pwedeng shortcut. Pero dito po sa scalar chain, may tinatawag po tayong gangplank or pag sinabi pong gangplank, ito po yung shortcut in scalar chain. Yung, hindi ba, general speaking, hindi pwedeng ma-bypass, ano? Pero dito sa gangplank, it is a shortcut in the scalar chain of authority na inaalaw yung mga employee at the same hierarchy level but in different department na makipag-communicate directly. So, ang konsepto ng gangplank is this bypass the usual chain command, making communication faster. Kasi kaya nga sa letter may tinatawag tayong attention to, 'di ba? Pero ina-acknowledge pa rin natin yung pinaka-head or pinaka-boss, pero hindi na natin idadaan sa kanya yung sulat. Parang ganun po ang gangplank. So, i-attention mo na sa kung kanino ba dapat, sino talaga yung recipient or makaka-receive ng letter or ng communication. Para maiwasan na natin na hindi pa, yung mahabang proseso, yung oras, ayan, para mas maging faster, kumbaga, ang communication. Na hindi mo naman dinidisrespect yung authority ng nung dinaanan nung yung tinatawag na nating scalar chain. So that is what we call the gangplank. Kung pantay-pantay lang naman kayo ng level, pero magkakaibang department kayo, okay lang that you communicate with each other. So, yun po yung konsepto ng gangplank. You need to go again sa pinaka-top level bago mo ma-inform yung um, iba. Ayan. Now, let us proceed on the organizational behavior. So, ano ba ang features of organization? So, network of individuals. Pag sinabing network of individuals, ito ay, it consists of forming relationship to get things done. Ibig sabihin, samahan. Yun po ang ibig sabihin ng network of individuals. Samahan ng maraming mga tao that they need to perform a specific task to achieve a certain things or an outcome or output. So, an organization consists of individuals forming relationship na may iisang adhikain, may mutual understanding to get things done and problems are solved. And then, another feature of organization, dapat meron silang system na sinusunod. So, this feature is related to the first one, whereby everyone in this network of individual follows a coherent and well-defined structure and processes. So, being a member of an organization, you need to follow what is the system. Ano yung sistema na ini-implement dyan sa organization na yan. And then, coordinated activities. So, to achieve a common goal, the organization integrates all the various activities. So, this also facilitate efficiency as regards the use of resources and allow the individual and group to perform effectively. Ibig sabihin ng coordinated activities, tulong-tulong ang bawat members of the organization. Yan. Though, specifically, they do have their specific task, pero hindi ibig sabihin nun na hindi na sila tutulong in times of need. Ayan. And then, division of labor. Yun nga yung sabi natin kanina, hatian dapat ng trabaho para walang overlapping na nagaganap. Walang nasosobrahan na trabaho at walang nagkukulang ng trabaho. Ayan. Next one is goal orientation. So dito naman, um, this serves as the primary reason why organization exists. Bakit nag-exist pa tong organization na to? Kasi nga, meron silang iisang goal at purpose. Ayan. May reason bakit sila nag-exist. Ayun. Next one, continuity over time regardless of membership change. Yes, sa isang organization, hindi yan matatapos. Hindi yan mag-end kahit na naiiba or nababago or napapalitan ang mga member nito. Ayan. Kaya sabi ko, kaya nga when it comes to work, wag ka masyadong magpakahirap kasi ikaw mapapalitan ka pero yung company or yung institution or organization andyan pa din. Ikaw yung mapapalitan. Ayan. So, an organization affords to operate. Kumbaga patuloy pa rin na mag-ooperate yan kahit na iba na ang members nito. Ayan. So, since there is an established system with a solid foundation of structure and processes, new members may continue to manage and still pursue with the achievement of the organizational goal. So, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na napakahalaga mo sa kumpanya or organization na yan. Kasi, pwedeng may mas higit na, kumbaga, mapapalitan ka din. Parang ganun. So, work sa pamamaraan na naaayon sa job description mo. So, ganun po siya. Magkukontinue pa rin yan. Hindi matatapos at hindi mag-e-end ang isang organization pag nawala ka. Papalitan ka lang din naman. Kaya nga may tinatawag tayong recruitment process. Ayan. So, next one is on the organizational behavior. So, pag sinabi pong organizational behavior, it is the systematic study of how an individual behave within the organization. Paano ba dapat mag-behave ang isang member ng isang organization? So, syempre, magbe-base ka sa kanilang policy, magbe-base ka sa kanilang bylaws, or magbe-base ka sa kanilang guidelines. Ayan. Why is it important? Syempre, um, understanding the organizational behavior helps the leader enhance yung both employee at yung performance ng kanilang mga employee, and at the same time yung satisfaction ng kanilang mga employee. So by studying behavior, manager can develop strategies to boost productivity. Kasi dito sa pag-study ng organizational behavior, you will come up with a positive work environment at mai-improve din yung overall organizational outcome. Next one are the key elements of organizational behavior. Una, isa sa pinaka-importante sa isang organization is yung tao, yung people, manpower. Ayan. So, it refers to an employee working in your organization because the people element of the organization behavior is regarded as the most important. Kasi, how can a business or how can a organization exist kung wala namang tao na gagawa ng trabaho? Ayan, so yan yung isa sa pinaka-importanting element ng organization. Next one is structure. So dito sa structure, it relates to the role and relationship to those within the organization. So it is very important na the employee's role in the structure is clearly defined. So dapat alam nila, nakasaad sa kanilang job description kung ano ba talaga ang kanilang trabaho. So it will lead to more work efficiency and employees can avoid confusion. Hindi sila malilito kung ano ba talaga ang kanilang work. Ayan. So due to engaging employees in work that fits their skill, business goals are likely to happen. So that is what we call structure. Next one, of course, napakahalaga din ng technology. Ayan. Anong nagagawa ng technology for business production? Ayan. Para ma-perform ng mabilisan ang trabaho. Ayan. Without it, work would be very difficult. Ang hirap naman kung walang technology. Mahirap po, very inconvenient on the part of the people or in the part of the worker. Kumbaga dito sa technology, it affects the work quality and it reduce production cost. And then of course, napakahalaga din ng environment. Ayan. So organizations aren't able to thrive on their own. They and the environment factors surround includes the government, the society, the family, and even other organization. So organizational culture refers to an internal environment within your business or structure. So, external environment will pertain to political, social, cultural, and economic factor. Ibig sabihin ng environment is lahat, the surrounding sectors of the organization. Next one are the management and its function. Pag sinabi pong management, andun po nangyayari ang coordination and administration of task. Paano ipino-perform ang task? Ayan. So, the basic function of a manager. So, the first one, setting objectives para alam ng mga personnel or para alam ng iyong mga subordinate kung ano ba talaga ang kanilang gagawin. So, it is the primary way a manager accomplishes and maintains success. So, they must also be able to convey them to the staff. Dapat yung mga objectives ay i-explain mo din sa mga personnel so that they could be able to perform well at magawa nila ang kanilang trabaho. And then, of course, kasama din po dyan yung organizing. So, the manager evaluate the type of work, divide it into achievable task. Dapat achievable task. Pag sinabing achievable task, nagagawa siya. Ayun. So the organization consists of series of relationship among individual staff as well as department or entities inside the organization. So bilang manager, meron kang responsibility na i-make sure na all individuals and entities work together in harmony. Ibig sabihin may nagkakaintindihan at maayos. Kaya nga siya organized. Which includes, kasama na din po dito yung motivating the staff member and the department to stay on task. So that is on organizing. And then of course, sakop din ng function ng manager ang motivating the team. Ayan. Imo-motivate mo sila. So, an effective manager must know how to form and lead successful team. They should know how to galvanize the team members around cause. Kung marunong ka dapat, very persuasive ka and inspirational. Para may gana silang magtrabaho. And then, devising system of measurement. Ito naman sa devising system of measurement, paano yung gagawin mo para ma-measure mo yung kanilang performance. Ayan. So, dapat may KPI kayong ginagamit. Pag sinabing KPI, ito yung Key Performance Indicator. Ayan. And then, of course, developing your people. So, for example, dito, i-encourage mo sila to do schooling, to improve or to develop o attend ng mga seminars so that they could be able still to develop their skills and abilities. Ayan. So, leading their team toward a goal, measuring their progress along the way. So, good managers invest in their staff development. So, maglaan ka naman ng pondo or ng fund when it comes to the development of your people. Wag mo naman silang hayaang nananatili lang sa pinakamababang position. Let them be promoted as well. So, the management concept, syempre, there is control. So, wherein employees should understand the goal that they are aiming for as well as measurement that will be used to determine whether they have been successful. So, bilang manager, you must have to control over what the members do. Ibig sabihin, sinusupervise mo, in-oversee mo yung kanilang ginagawa. And then, of course, planning. The best manager knows the planning is critical before the implementation. Bago pa man kayo mag-perform ng any task, dapat ito ay binded or it is anchored or based on a plan. Yun. So, hindi natatapos ang pagpaplano pag na-implement na yung action. Continuous pa rin ang planning. And then, of course, staffing. You make sure that the right people will be put into the right job. Ayan. They also need to pay attention to issues like organizing workplace policies. And then, management style, paano mo i-handle? Dapat meron kang effective leadership and management style. How could you be able now to handle your men? Yun po yung sa management style. And then of course, persuasive management style. Kung ikaw yung klase ng compelling leader, you need to spend a lot of time sa iyong mga team members. Sa paanong pamamaraan, you need to engage, proper engagement with employee. It allows persuasive manager to lead by example. Yung lagi mo silang i-guide. And to gain buy-in and compliance from the team by persuading rather than instructing. So dito, hindi ka command lang ng command. Ang ginagawa mo dito sa persuasive management style is panghihikayat. Ayun. You always persuade them or you always encourage them to do well sa kanilang mga trabaho. Ayan. And then of course, we also do have para masabi natin na magiging effective ang isang leader, kailangan niyang magkaroon ng democratic management style. Ibig sabihin ng democratic management style, you are allowing your people to decide on their own. Ini-involve mo sila. Nagiging open ka to listen to them. You involve them so that they could become independent and iisipin nila that they belong to the organization. And then, laissez-faire management, ito yung kabaliktaran. Hindi mo na sila sinusupervise, solely sila na yung gagawa ng trabaho. Ayan. Pareho lang, leadership and management kasi siya kaya naulit lang ulit. Kumbaga dito, being the leader, you stand aside. You are allowing your employee to flourish creatively. Okay naman yun minsan na you are allowing or you are just letting your employee to work independently. Pero hindi sa lahat dapat kasi paano nga kung yung employee na hinahayaan mo ay hindi naman nagpo-perform ng maayos. So, kawawa ang company or ang organization. Effective lang ito kung ma-assure mo na yung mga empleyado mo or yung mga personnel mo ay magagaling na sa kanilang trabaho. So, the levels of management, low level, yung pinaka nasa front line. Mid-level, sila yung mga nag-i-interpret ng mga policies or ng mga plan. And then senior management, sila yung mga executive, sila yung may mga matataas na position. So the nature of management, so syempre, when it comes to management, there are a lot of activities that they need to perform. At yung mga activities na dapat na yan ay purposeful, with purpose. Hindi siya ginagawa para wala lang. Ayan. And then, management is concerned with efforts of group, hindi yan effort lang ng iisa. Ayan. And then, management applies to economic principle. And then, management also involves decision making and getting things done through others. Ibig sabihin ng getting things done through others, ito na po yung mga collaborative efforts na magagawa ng mga personnel. Ayan. Kahit naman ang pinaka-decision making ay nasa pinaka-sole responsibility ng head or ng manager, meron pa rin namang mga iba't ibang management style that you are letting or you are asking for the opinion of your people before you come up with decision. Kaya nga sinabi dito that management is getting things done through others. And then, management is an integrating process. So there should always be integration among people. And then, of course, coordinate all activities and resources. So, ganoon naman, there should be coordination sa lahat ng mga activities, sa lahat ng mga resources na gagamitin. Yan. So, the importance of management, una, management is goal-oriented. Ibig sabihin, management and concern with achievement. Kailangan, kaya nga siya goal-oriented. Ang pinaka-purpose ay ma-achieve kung ano yung specific goal. And then, management is associated with group efforts. Ayan. Pag sinabing group efforts, collaborative effort. Ayan. So, it coordinates the activities and action of its member towards a common goal. So, hindi lamang iisa ang nagpo-perform. So, kailangan kasama lahat ng members. And then, management is intangible. Ibig sabihin, it is an unseen force. Its presence can be evidenced by the result of its effort, up-to-date order, but they generally remain unnoticed, whereas mismanagement is quickly noticed. Yes, pag sinabing management, hindi naman na yun mapapansin eh. Pag tama ang pamamaraan ng pagmamanage ng isang organization, hindi yan mapapansin. Pero once na nagkamali, na bankrupt, or somehow nalugi, or sabihin na natin na hindi na nagagawa ng maayos ang mga trabaho, yun yung madaling manonotice. Kaya nga sinabi dyan, management is intangible. Kumbaga, ang mas nakikita is yung maling magagawa. Ayun. And then, management is an activity and not a person or group of persons. So, pag sinabing management, hindi yan tao ang tinutukoy niya. Pag sinabing management, it has something to do with activity na ipo-perform ng mga tao. Ayan. And then, management is situational. Pag sinabing situational, management does not advise best way of doing things. When it comes to management, wala talagang perfect way on how to do things. Nakadepende yon kung ano yung applicable. Ayan. Depende sa situation. Depende sa pangangailangan. Ayan. And then, management is universal. When it comes to the different principles and techniques of management, universal siya in nature. It may applicable to this kind of organization. It may applicable to some. So they can be applied. Ayan. So they provide working guidelines which can be adapted according to situation. So pwede mong gawing basis, kaya nga siya tinawag na universal. Hindi siya para lang sa iisang institution or sa iisang organization. And of course, management is concerned with people. Ayan. So, since management involves getting things done through others, only human being can perform the activity with the help of planning and control. So, syempre, napakahalaga ng welfare at well-being ng mga personnel. Ayan. So, management is the combination of art, science, and profession. Syempre, lahat-lahat yan. Kaya nga dapat being in a management, you should be knowledgeable, credible, creative, artistic, resourceful. So, napakadaming qualities when it comes to management. And of course, the current development in management, meron tayong tinatawag na operation management. So, ito yung tinatawag na, it is the guts of a manufacturing of service company or service company. Concerned with all aspect of converting material labor into goods and services as efficiently as possible. So, yung mga operations manager, they must work closely with every department in the business to ensure that the products are manufactured efficiently. Ayun. So, concerned most probably ang operations management with all the physical processes involving producing and delivering goods and services sa mga customers. Ayan. And then of course, kasama din po dyan ang information management. So dito naman sa information management, kung ang operation management is considered to be the gut of the business, ang information naman ay ang tinatawag nilang the nervous system. Kumbaga, syempre, napakahalaga ng information. So, organization today depend on the availability and accuracy of information. Napakahalaga ng information kasi ina-update ninyo yung iba't ibang mga managerial styles na pwede ninyong i-apply sa inyong organization. So, that is why, pero make sure that all information being gathered should be reliable. Kumbaga, so, ano ba ang purpose ng information management? So, its purpose is to make sure that information is available to the right people. Kaya nga dapat well-informed ang mga personnel na dapat nakakaalam ng information na yan. So, at the right time, in the form that they can apply. So, that is on information management. And then, organizations operate as open system. Ibig sabihin, a system approach to management recognizes that organizations are open system that interact with and are dependent on their environment. So, in a continual process, they obtain necessary input, transform the input into finished good and services, and deliver their output to the market. Ibig sabihin nun, the organization gets feedback from the market in two forms. May dalawang pamamaraan. How could the organization come up or parang sila makakakuha ng feedback from the market? Una, syempre, they need to receive revenue. Ayun. So when it comes to revenue, there should be finances. to support the organization. Kasi how can an organization perform kung wala naman po itong revenue, walang financial stability. And then second one is information on how well the organization is doing. So dapat, ma'am, ay paano natin malalaman na yung organization ay performing well? Tulad ng pagkuha ng customer survey. Kaya kung napapansin nyo, pag pumupunta kayo sa mga company, sa mga establishment, di ba hinihingan kayo ng feedback, customers feedback. Ayan. Kahit nga sa school meron. Yung mga client satisfaction survey, ayan, kung masungit ba naging mabait ba ang registrar, something like that, so that they could um, be able to improve kung ano yung lapses or kakulangan ng kanilang organization. And then, of course, they need also to accept yung mga customer service complaint, ayan, na based sa kung ano yung feedback na ibinibigay ng kanilang customer. Yan kasi yung basehan nila so that they could be able to operate openly para sa kanilang mga customer or para sa public. Kaya dapat they should be open to criticisms. Hindi yun paninira. Ito ay pagpuna sa kung ano yung na-observe niya based sa naranasan niya nung naka-receive siya ng serbisyo sa isang organization or sa isang company. Ayan. And of course, there should be contingency management. So, eto namang contingency management, it is a approach to management practice that basically says there is no one best way to manage. Ibig sabihin lang, wala talagang perfect, walang isang pinaka-best way on how to manage an organization or a company. So, kaya nga sinabi dyan, every situation is considered unique. Kung kaya't, managers should adapt theory and practice to match the situation. You need to depend on a particular situation. Yan. In order for you to come up with a good management style. Next, let us proceed on administration. Pag sinabi pong administration, it was derived from the word ad and minister or ministare, which means to serve. Yun ang purpose ng administration, to serve. Sino ang isa-serve niya? Yung people niya, yung personnel niya, or yung client niya. So, in simple words, it means care for or to look after the people, to manage affairs, or group activity which involves cooperation and coordination for the purpose of achieving desired goals or objectives. Kaya nga pag tinanong, sino ba ang admin nyo? Ano bang ginagawa ng admin nyo? Ayun. Ibig sabihin nun, dapat kinikare ba kayo ng admin? Minamanage ba talaga kayo properly ng administration? Ayan. So, ibig sabihin to serve. Ibig sabihin they are performing their work properly. So, administration as an organization and direction of human and material resources to achieve desired ends. So, it is the direction, coordination, and control of many person to achieve some purpose or objective. Kaya pag sinabing administration, it includes activities of group cooperating to accomplish a common goal. Yan. It also involves activities pertaining to the higher level wherein the fundamental elements of the organization are determined. So basically, ang administration ay nakafocus sa pag-develop ng plan, ng mga process at ng mga policies, at pag-establish ng mga goals and objectives, and usually in a bureaucratic in nature. When you say in a bureaucratic in nature, you are also considering the welfare of the people na nasasakupan nyo. Ayan. We also do have police personnel management. Ito naman, it is defined as the area of management concerned with human relation in the police organization so as the development of work, effectiveness, and advancement of rank in the police organization. Concerned with human relation. Pag sinabi namang public administration, ito naman yung detailed and systematic application of law. Ayan. So, every particular application of law is an act of administration. Paano nila ina-apply yung policy or yung mga law or yung mga guidelines within the organization. So, yun po yung tinatawag nating public administration. So, ano yung nature ng public administration? Una, integral view. Pag sinabi pong integral view, administration is the sum total of the entire activities, which includes also yung mga activities na nakalagay sa manual, clerical, or managerial, or technical. So in this view, all the acts of officials of the government, from the attendant to secretaries to the government and head of the state, constitute public administration. So all positions ay dapat may kanya-kanyang job description. So that is on integral view. And then, pag sinabing managerial view, according to this view of administration, the managerial activities of people are involved in, kasama dito yung, kaya nga siya managerial, how you manage people. Kaya kasama dito ang planning, organizing, commanding, coordinating, and controlling. So yun naman po dito sa my managerial view. How could you be able to manage your people and the activities of your people? Yan. So next one are the approaches to public administration. Una, philosophical. Pag sinabi pong philosophical approach, ito po yung one of the oldest method in studying public administration. So, ano yung ginagawa dito sa philosophical approach? So, it examine all aspect of administrative activities, and ang main focus nila is yung mga principles, yung values, ideas, and guide them. So, ang scope nito ay broad, medyo malawak, wherein it provides comprehensive framework for understanding paano ba talaga nagfa-function ang isang administration. Ayan. Next one is the historical approach. So dito naman po sa historical approach, public administration is being studied by examining past administration practices. Ito yung ikukumpara mo, yung kung ano yung ginagawa ng past administration. Yan. So, you need to analyze the organization and the events in chronological order. Kumbaga sa tamang pagkakasunod-sunod. So, helping to identify the uniqueness of administrative system in society with rich historical background. Yung parang you tend to compare according to the past administration. Whether it be you're going to adapt, to change, or not. Next one is comparative approach. Ito namang comparative approach, combination siya ng historical at saka comparative method. Wherein they are studying public administration at nire-reject nila ang philosophical approach, the old one. So he argued, wherein Woodrow argued that comparing administrative system across the government helps eliminate misconception, showing that administration operates on similar principles in democratic and non-democratic states. So, itong approach na to, it highlights on the practical evidence-based study over abstract theorizing. So, yun. So, comparative approach. And then, of course, the modern approach. So, yung kay Karl Marx, yung konsepto ng bureaucracy. So, Karl Marx is considered to be the father of scientific socialism, wherein he never attempted a full-length discourse on public administration or bureaucracy. Ang pinaka-main interest niya were largely peripheral in the sense that he dealt with public administration only as complementary to capitalism. Yan, yun yung sa kanya. So, his interest is on capitalism. Yet, he recognized bureaucracy important role in organizing and maintaining societal structure. And next one is we do have the ecological approach. So dito naman sa ecological approach, this approach views administration as constantly interacting with the environment. Kaya nga siya ecology. So public bureaucracy is seen as the sole social institution that both influence by means of economic, political, or socio-cultural system. So, ibig sabihin, nakakaapekto ang environment. Yung environment na tutukoy ay yung economic, political, and socio-cultural system. So, understanding this interdependence is essential for analyzing how administrative processes adapt to and shape their surroundings. How does a specific economy politics, and social culture affects the system. So parang ganun po ang ecological approach. And then, pag sinabi namang behavioral approach, it's more on understanding human behavior within the organization. So, it draws on social science like kasama na po dito ang psychology, anthropology, sociology, wherein these are being used to explain, to predict, and improve employees' behavior. Kumbaga dito, magbe-base tayo, bakit nagbe-behave yung employee ng ganyan? So, how could the administration handle those kinds of employee? So, ang goal ng behavioral approach is to develop knowledge that could help the managers effectively guide and influence the people within the organization. Yan. And then, of course, we do have the developmental approach. So, dito naman sa developmental approach, the main focus is on action and goal-oriented management. So it guides the organization towards achieving progressive political, economic, and social objective, as well as emphasizing efficient administration para maipromote ang growth and development in the society. Yan. So this is the process of guiding an organization para ma-achieve niya yung progressive political, economic, and social objective that are authoritatively determined in one manner or another. So that is on developmental approach. Pag sinabi naman decision-making approach, it was pioneered by Herbert Simon. This approach equates administration with the process of making decision. Ito naman, how could you be able to come up with decision? So, decisions occur, nangyayari ang decisions at every organization. Sa lahat naman ng organization ay kailangan may decision. So, it emphasizes on, syempre, ang focus lamang po dito sa decision making is the rational decision making. Pag sinabing rational decision making, it involves yung proper way of thinking, na naka-anchor din of course sa iba't ibang mga feedback or follow-up action to ensure that effective implementation. So hindi ka lang magbe-base sa decision mo na baseless. Kasi kailangan po dito should be a rational decision making. Ginamitan ng utak at ng isipan. And then structural functional approach. So dito naman, this approach views society as composed of structure that perform essential function using a specific method. So according to Riggs, every society carries out economic, social, communication, and symbolic political function. So similarly, administrative consists of a structure that execute this function in an organized and systematic manner to ensure effective governance. Ibig sabihin ng systematic manner, there should be a binding systematic way or policies that personnel or every administration needs to follow so that they could be able to ensure an effective governance. Then of course, we also do have the contingency approach. Itong contingency approach, it bridges management theory and practice by emphasizing that managerial action and organizational design must fit to a specific situation. So, there is no single best way to manage. Wala naman, sabi nga natin kanina, nakadepende yun sa sitwasyon, nakadepende yun sa pangangailangan ng isang company or ng isang organization. So, it also consider how situational factors influence behavior within the organization. And then, of course, we do have the rational choice approach. From the word itself, rational choice approach, it is called choice theory or rational action theory. Pareho lang. So, this approach models social, economic, and individual behavior na magbe-base po sa idea that people act to maximize personal advantage. So, it assumes that individual weigh cost and benefit. Ito yung parang, before you perform an action, you need to weigh whatever the consequences of your action before you come up with a decision. So, it assumes that individual weigh cost and benefit before making decision, and it is widely used in economics. Ito yung isa sa pinaka-best approach na pwedeng i-consider. Kasi, dito, wini-weigh mo muna what would be the consequences, whether it be beneficial sa organization or hindi. Yan. And lastly, last na to, is the public choice approach. Ito naman, this is actually considered to be the landmark in the evolution of public administration, which was the emergence of public choice approach. So dito sa public choice approach na to, it seeks to align organization with the interests and preference of individual and consumer. Naka-base ka sa kung ano yung pangangailangan ng consumer or ng mga client. Wherein it critiques traditional hierarchical and bureaucratic model as incompatible with humanist and liberal democratic principle. So, dito sa public choice theory, it situates public administration within the realm of politics, emphasizing decision making that reflects political organization and citizen preferences. So, yun. So, dito, more on locating public administration within the domain of politics. Ayan. So, an appropriate theory of political organization. So, that is on the public choice approach. Ayan. So, I think that ends our discussion. Do you have any question po? May tanong po ba tayo?
Wala po.
Wala na. Pati yung host natin, nawala na din.
Ano po, ma'am?
Ay, wala naman. So, kung wala na, thank you so much for listening and have a blessed Sunday.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
you po.
Love you, ma'am.
Sino, PUBG? Explain na yan.